You ever wake up one day and realize you don't even recognize yourself anymore? You built the life, you checked the boxes, you became the person everyone expected you to be, and yet inside something feels disconnected, heavy, off. Like the life fits on paper, but not in your soul. Most people think that means something is wrong. But what if your life isn't falling apart? What if your old identity is? Today's guest, Larry Kesslin, has spent decades helping people understand why success alone doesn't create fulfillment. Through his work, his book, The Joy Molecule, and his own journey of redefining success, Larry discovered something powerful. The moment you start questioning everything about who you are is often the moment you finally begin waking up to yourself. So let's bring on Larry. Okay, where are you? There
Somewhere.
you are.
I'm
There
so
you
glad
are.
to be here.
Yeah, I know. I started this thinking, okay, I'm gonna fly on the wing with this because I wasn't sure where you were, but that's okay. It's all handled now.
It's all good, except my name is guest name, so
Oh,
maybe I'll be guest name for today.
I
It's
will
all good.
change that for you. I'm so sorry.
Can
I
you
thought
change
I
that?
see
It's
all these little
beautiful.
these details. This is a whole new platform I'm on, so I'm learning how to get all of this done.
It's okay. It's called life.
Yes, it is life. And,
Yeah.
this is the first time that I had it work. Last time the guest never even, I couldn't even get her on the show. So that was pretty bad luck.
No. Bad.
So
So how are you?
I'm good. Thanks. Things are changing. Things are getting better, which is a good thing, right? Sometimes we wonder what life is, are you ever going to get on the other end? And I think I realized during this period of time, I needed to have a little bit more joy and fun in my life. And that's what this whole water heater thing that I was starting to talk about did, is that I realized I needed to start having more fun. And now here you are, and we're going to talk about having more fun.
It's a beautiful topic.
I know. And since I got to get myself kind of organized here now with the camera, it's all off. Okay. Anyways, so what I want to do is have you introduce yourself as
Sure.
what your journey of your becoming and what brought you into bringing in your book. And you might want to bring the joy molecule over. That's success redefined. That's the one we're going to talk about.
Sure.
Yeah. So that way you can tell everybody how this journey came about for you, and then we can go from there.
The journey. The journey is 62 years and counting. So I'm going to go back to the center because I think it
Yep.
is adjusting. But my journey's been like any other human. I was born one day and the world tried to teach me what it wanted me to be. And then you kind of develop what the world teaches you to be. And I did what I thought I was supposed to do. I went to college, got a job, didn't like the job thing. So I became an entrepreneur, figured out how to be an entrepreneur, figured out how to make some money, had uh, got married, had a couple of kids, and was able to move from New York to San Diego in 2010. That was life changing. I'm still here at 16 years later. I would not change that for the world. Love where I live. My kids are both gone. They're 26 and 24 now. My son is living in Texas. My daughter's living in Denver. And my son's getting married this weekend on Sunday, Memorial Day weekend. And
Congratulations
I
on
get to
that.
officiate the wedding. How awesome is that?
Oh, how cool.
So I must have done something right on this journey. My kids both love me and my ex wife. And I think we did really good as parents. And I was what most people would consider a happy, well adjusted, middle aged human running a business until I went to Africa in 2012 and spent a month, 25 days in Uganda and Kenya, and met people that were absolutely happier and filled with more joy than anybody I've ever met in my life. And I got shook to my core. And I went to a conference 7 weeks later down in Mexico called Opportunity Collaboration. And at that conference, I got asked three questions that changed my life. And those three questions is, what is poverty? Who gets to define it? And why are we trying to fix it? And that just blew my mind because I'm like, I did not see poverty. I did not see my imagination of poverty, because to me, poverty and misery were synonymous. Just like at that point in my life, self and identity were synonymous. And now I've realized so much over the last 14 years since I got back from Africa. And I've been on this journey of trying to figure out, who am I? What am I? Why am I here? And what I've learned is that I am a spiritual being having a human experience with access to a mind and a mind that thinks and a body that feels. And the more that I continue to have agency over those thoughts and those feelings, the better my life gets. And at the end of the day, the people that I've met on my journey have taught me so much, which is what this book over here is all about. So Success Redefined was published in 2015. And if you look at the cover, it says connection plus purpose equals joy. I worked on that book with a writer. Her name is Susan Saba. And Susan said in the back of the book, the last third of the book, I use this line, conscious connection plus purpose equals joy. And she said, well, that's C2P. I'm like, and what is C2P? She says, well, if H2O is the water molecule, then C2P has got to be the joy molecule, which is where the title of this book came from. So I've been on this journey for the last 14 years directly, and 62 and a half years since I was placed on this planet inside this body, to figure out who I really am and why I'm here. And I wake up every day with an immense amount of peace. I wake up every day with a ton of joy and gratitude, and I live in abundance. And the world shows up exactly the way you expect it to show up. Because if you believe that the world is abundant, it shows up abundance. And if you believe it's scarcity, it'll show up as scarcity. So whatever you put out into the world is going to show up. So my journey has been one that I did all the things everybody taught me, especially American culture. We are taught to achieve and win and get to the finish line. But there is no finish line. There's only this moment right now. And I am really clear that I am blessed beyond possibility. Like, the fact that I was born at all is a miracle. The fact that I have 10 fingers and 10 toes and can walk and run and cycle and do all the things that I've done in my life is a miracle. And I'm insanely blessed. So, I mean, if you want to go the shortest, I mean, that's it, is that I'm here, I'm present, and I love being alive. And I'm meeting some amazing people. I've been on, I don't know, 50 podcasts in the last 5.5 months. And I'm just meeting some amazing people like you and many others. And that's been a pleasure.
I understand that because that's when when I decided I was going to come out and be on podcast, be a guest. It was all of a sudden I started embodying, like, my thoughts, my business, my books, everything started to come more centered and whole inside of my heart. Because
Mm-hmm.
first do it, especially for someone like me who was always on to the next, I never stopped long enough to give myself enough credit because of the survival mode that I had been living in. And so this was like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, I'm finding my message. And I knew my message, but it was like I was able to put it into words. And as
Sure.
a result of all of that, I also started understanding, and you said it so eloquently, of we with the mind and the body, like we feel with our body and whatever you said, I can't remember now,
Our
but
mind produces thought.
yeah. And so when you said that, it's like it's so true because we want to discard the body, and the body is part of who we are. I mean, we created it. And so, and I know that there's times when I'm going, I'm not sure why I'm here or what I'm doing, but I'm having a good time. I'm learning, I'm evolving. That's the
Mm-hmm.
main thing, is sometimes we may not know what that purpose is. It's just being here, and sometimes it's just bringing joy and love to somebody. being
No
support,
question.
meeting cool people. Because, I mean,
Hmm.
when I met Larry, it was, I think, at what, Judith's Christmas party or
It
something
was.
like that. And it was like, oh, you still got to be on my show because it was like you were talking to me. And I
Spiritual
understood that.
awakenings, what
It
we're here
was.
for.
It was. And then you were talking about, and only if you feel like it, but just you were witnessing someone going through that. And
Uh,
what would that be for you? And you don't have to name
I'm,
names or
I'm happy to
anything.
share it. No, it's my
Okay.
daughter. My daughter was going through some challenging times after doing some recreational stuff at a concert. I've done multiple psilocybin journeys, and my daughter did the same, and it didn't go well. I mean, she got into some mania, and I watched her through 6 weeks of challenging times, and I lived through it with her, and I saw it as a beautiful experience. Not sure she did. And then afterwards, I kept telling her, "You're doing great." And she's like, "Why do you say I'm doing great?" I'm like, "Because you are. You're alive. You're above ground." "Well, I'm not myself." "Well, you are yourself. You're just yourself in this state." And we all go through times in life when we don't feel like ourselves. But who is ourself? That's all a mental construction. And when our mind is not cooperating, then we end up in these states where we're not what we thought we were. But at the end of the day, who are we really? That's the question that I've been looking for decades. And about 14 months ago, I had an out of body experience that showed me that I am not just this being in this body, and that I am something greater than that. And that taught me so much. And it allowed me to be, I don't know, it's took a lot of integration work. Once I got through with that, and once that happened, I needed to figure out who I was and figure out what am I all about and what's going on in my world, because I've learned so much in my lifetime. And when I had my awakening, I was ready for it. And I think what happened with my daughter is she had a similar awakening and she wasn't ready for it. At 25 years old, it's hard to process being part of something greater than yourself. It's almost impossible to see and accept. But for me at 61 and change, I thought I was spiritual. But if you live in your mind, if you think you're spiritual, I don't think you understand. There's a knowing of spirit that is different than a thinking. If you listen to Alan Watts, if you listen to Michael Singer, if you listen to Eckhart Tolle, any of these amazing humans, they all say that you can't outthink this issue. We are not the thoughts in our mind. We are a being that has access to thought. And once you realize that, then you start to have agency over thought. And then you start to realize that those thoughts really don't matter. And in my coaching work, I talk to people all the time that are living in their thoughts. I'm like, they're not true. They're their truth. I'm not, and it's their reality, but it's not truth, like capital T truth. It's just their truth. And their truth is based on their own belief system, which was created from the experiences they've had in their life and their interpretation of what's happened. And I don't want to be too simplistic, but in my mind, that's kind of how it works, is that we all build belief systems based on how we've observed the world and our interpretation of what's unfolded. And how can that be true? There's 8 billion of us. How can what I've observed and what I've interpreted have any sense of what is? It's only what I believe to be. So if that's true, then I can choose to believe something different if I want to. And the question is, what do I want to believe? So how do people architect a life versus live out what one was taught? And I think a belief system is very adaptable once you realize that you are not what you think you are. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody listening, but that's where I have gotten to on this journey, is that myself, my identity, my ego, my mind are all separate things. But for 6+ decades in my life, my mind and my identity and my ego and myself were all the same. And if that's true, then we don't really have much choice. we react to everything we think, and we live in this moment of reaction, what I would call basic self, which is our inner child many times. And we don't really tap into higher self, which is that knowing, that inner knowing, or our unconscious, subconscious, whatever you want to call it. Does that make sense?
It does. And when you were talking, because I know I get up in my head, and if I stay in my heart, everything seems to work better. Because I feel like I'm knowing where I'm supposed to be. I'm knowing that I'm right where I'm supposed to be. It's always the head stuff that makes me think. So my partner sent me a video about this woman talking about, if you want to have things in your life, you need to be that person. You need to be and act as if. Like if you want to have money, what are you going to do? Because, wishing for something isn't going to make it happen. And it's what you said, because it's like, I'm going back because it's be, do, have, not have, do, be.
No question.
Right. And
Be
that's
the
what I
person that you know yourself to be. Do the things that that person does, and you'll have everything you want.
exactly. And
Mhm.
so it's just about being crystal clear. And even if you want to be that person, how does that person think? How do they feel? What does that future self look like? Because I used to say, well, what was my future? Who was my future self? And when she showed up, I embraced her because she actually showed up and came into my body like, oh my God, I actually created her
Yeah.
because I was being her.
Hmm.
And it's such a profound experience when you take that kind of control back over your mind. And so what was the result? I was like, "Oh my god, this stuff really works this way. It's not theory. It's not some guru just saying, "Yeah, I did this," as he's got, $10 million in his bank account. Anybody can say that. You know what I mean? All the self-doubt. But when you look at their lives, you look at what they did, how they got, the work that they put in, because it wasn't just an entitlement thing. And yes, we are entitled, but we do the work, not society giving you things. And that's kind of how I see it. And so that's when you said
Hmm.
that, I was like, I love that, because I know when you found that knowingness and you had that out of body experience, it does alter your consciousness. Because I've
No
had it
question.
too.
Yeah.
Because you just know.
Yeah. You can't think your way out of this lifetime. If you do, then you end up becoming the person that the world taught you to be, and you never learn to become yourself. To me, that's the shift. When do you stop performing, and when do you start living? And I performed for well over 6 decades, and people saw it. And I say now that all the things I was doing to get all the things I wanted were all the things that were keeping me from getting what I wanted. And the more I show up as my authentic self, the more I accept people for who they are and share my life story in a way that I help people. My definition of joy is knowing what you are, who you are, and why you are. That's the book. That's the joy molecule. 8 stories of people I've met since I got back from Africa 14 years ago, and the lessons they've taught me. And there's 5 lessons. My circumstances not define my joy. If I can meet people from Africa that are happier than anybody I know that live in poverty, what I saw as poverty, they really live in impoverishment. In many ways, I think we live in poverty. Then anybody can be living with joy. If you know what you are, who you are, and why you are. That's my definition of joy. And my definition of joy is synonymous with inner peace. I want inner peace. That's what I seek every day. And joy to me is the same as inner peace. And the people that I knew that had that all walk this planet knowing what they are, meaning what they do for a living, how they make a living, whether it's sold a business, they don't have to think about it, or they're doing their life's work. They know who they are, which is their values, their priorities, and everything that goes along with that. And then they know why they exist. They know their reason for being, their purpose. And it could be as simple as being a good husband and a good father. It could be as complex as I'm here to solve world poverty and I need to solve homelessness in San Diego, and that is my purpose. Now, I'm not going to kill myself because I don't do it, but my reason for being. So one of my reasons for being is to help young people become adults. So I work with an organization in San Diego called Boys to Men Mentoring, and I do a lot of work around that. I'm also passionate about sport. So I'm involved with the San Diego Sports Innovators. I'm also involved with Challenged Athletes Foundation. So my why, if you ask me, why does Larry Kesslin exist? I'm here to help people connect to themselves, help them connect to others, and help them connect to the resources they need to leave this planet better than they found it. That's my reason for being here. Now, I know the world is perfect. The world doesn't need to be better. But I have an opportunity to help those around me because I see the world as this evolution. And the 5 lessons in this book are my 5 lessons. And when I talk to people on stage and stuff, it's like, okay, these are my 5 lessons. What are your 5 lessons? So for mine, circumstances not define my joy. My life needs to have meaning. My ego and my identity kill my joy. The more I'm identified and I own my ego and my identity as me, that's where joy gets is goes into a black hole. You can never quit. That's one of my lessons in life. There's no quitting. And the last one is I call the Enough Academy. When we have enough, what is our responsibility back to others? So that whole section is about philanthropy and giving back and being of service. Those are my 5 lessons. And I'm here to learn more lessons. And one thing that people thank me for all the time is helping them understand complex issues simply. That's something I'm really good at. I love creating stories around complex ideas. And I've been playing with this one idea. I don't know if you want me to share about how I see how we are raised as humans and how through our lifetime, our identity and ego get so much, they want control so much that they end up steering us in not the directions we need to go. And what needs to happen, in my opinion, is that our ego and identity need to be broken up into its core pieces, which is our inner child, our conscious adult self, and our highest self, which is stuff I learned through this program called Insight here that was born by John Roger, and amazing work. And it all made sense. It all clicked when I learned some of this content. And the context for me is that my identity and my ego is made up of these 3 pieces. My inner child, some of which is painful, some of which is happy, some of which is playful, some of which is sad. I mean, it's like Inside Out. It's the movie. And all these feelings are inside of us, but that's our inner child. And when we become adult, we no longer need that inner child to keep us safe and comfortable because as adults, we can do hard things and we can get through really hard times. And I'm just fascinated by this whole journey of what it means to be human. To me, that's the joy that we all get every day is what does it mean to be a human being? And if we just walk around as our mind, then we're really not being. We are thinking and we're doing what we think we should do versus knowing. Like people have told me my whole life, I'm a connector. That is one of the things I do really well. But that's part of my identity. That's not me. I am the spirit that has some skills and some gifts. And I also have some wisdom of things I've learned in my life. But that's what the journey is to figure out what are my natural gifts. This being, this skin sack, was filled with stuff, some organs that I have no idea what they do. This being pumps blood, it manipulates muscles, it does all this amazing stuff. It digests food that I don't think about ever. And I also have a mind. And for some reason, the game that God created or whoever you believe in said that I'm going to let you inspect that mind. And to me, that's the biggest confusion ever is that because we can inspect our mind doesn't mean we should. Or are we better off letting the unconscious guide us and stop thinking? Just be. And I'm finding that that is so much more enjoyable. That the less I am actively thinking and the more I'm present to where I am, the better my life gets.
I have to tell you something funny that you're saying because about 2 weeks ago, I was having this war inside me where it was the spirit and the body, and I'm the observer. Okay. So, what I came from, and I was almost in hysterical tears because I'm like, what is going on? Because I'm watching this like dynamic of my
Sure.
spirit is like, I want to go out, I want to do this. And my body is like in a total overwhelmed state of mind because of the water heater. I was at my capacity. My nervous system had to settle down. But you know what was the funniest thing about this whole thing? I was like 5 years old having this little thing
Exactly. You're a little
because
child.
it was this little child coming out, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to sit back and watch this play out because I don't know what's going on here. All I know is that I am not in alignment because body, mind, spirit alignment was not there because spirit wants to go out and flit around the universe because it can. The body can't because we're dense, and I created it, and it's trying to do what spirit wants, but it can't because, I'm in an overwhelmed state. And then here's this little girl coming up going, I don't know what to do. Life is traumatic. And I'm like, oh my God. And I just sat there and I'm thinking, what the hell's wrong with me? And it's like, no, just be with it. Just be with this. Because it was one of the most interesting observations I have ever had in my life, because it was like literally outside of myself, watching this dynamic of me, of everything you just said.
Hmm.
And so we need to do that being,
Yeah.
when that emotion is up and you don't know what's going on and you want to cry, then just cry. Just get the emotion out because there's a message behind all of that.
Sure.
And as I just let it just do and just sat there and go, this is really interesting. I think this is about a body, mind, spirit connection going to a level I have never known before. Because to me, that's what it was. Because I saw how disconnected I still was.
Hmm.
And even though I'm in alignment, I was still very disconnected because all of a sudden the nervous system is releasing more trauma. And I had to allow that because we store everything in our cells,
Yeah.
and
The body keeps
everything
the score. Yeah.
yeah. And so I just sat there and I just let it be. And then it was like, well, that wasn't so bad after I got on the other side. And I just found it humorous. It wasn't in the moment. It was, oh my God, I'm crazy. And then it was like, no, just breathe through this. Just breathe and
So my
observe.
company is called Five Dots for a reason.
Okay.
Have you ever seen Steve Jobs' commencement speech at Stanford in 2005?
Yes.
It's on YouTube. He says in the first third of the speech, talks about this calligraphy class that he took when he dropped out of school and dropped into the classes that he loved. He says you can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect them looking backwards. And you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect. You have to trust in karma, in your gut, in something, that they will somehow connect. So my company's called Five Dots because I had a company before that called For Profit. I've had a company called Liberate, LIBR8. I've had a company called Forethought. I mean, I like numbers and words. So Five Dots was logical for me because I wanted to create a business development consulting firm, and I was the chief connector of dots. But the dots come from Jobs talking about connecting dots, and they don't connect looking forward. You have no idea why this person is standing in front of you. So be inquisitive. Why are they in front of me? Am I here to help them? Are they here to help me? Are we here to help each other? Am I here to, I don't know. But we've lost our curiosity as a culture. We have definitive reasons of why we do and do not like people. And I love my tribe. I like the people I like hanging out with, but I'm also curious about people that are different today in a way that I wasn't curious in the past. So I'll give anybody 30 minutes. And if they earn more, then they'll get more. So I, I'm fascinated by this whole topic and the whole process that I've been living through. And it's been cathartic to really get back to coaching, which is really what I'm meant to be in this iteration of life, is to break things down and help people see themselves through a lens that they can't see. And to me, for my own work, that is my work. Helping others see things that they can't shows me what I need to see as well. So my coaching work is my therapy. My coaching work is my coach, is my own self coaching, because I'm showing them through channeling. It's not my intellect that's coaching them, it's my higher self. And when I let my higher self be present and show them a mirror to themselves, like in my keynote speech, I use a door as a metaphor. And I said, we all live in these comfortable rooms in the United States. And when I travel internationally, which I've been to 42 countries, I meet people that are deeply connected to each other and have so much more joy and connection than Americans typically have. And I say that we live in these rugged, individualized rooms. And there's a door that none of us want to go and open the door. But when we do open the door, it's not to this beautiful place. When you open the door, you get a mirror, and you get a mirror that is a reflection of you. Because there's nothing about the outside world that is good or bad. The outside world is just unfolding. It's been unfolding for 13.5 billion years. And we're here for a blink of an eye. So the issue is not, why is the world not showing up the way I want it to show up? The issue is, why is it that the way the world is showing up is bothering me? And if I can help people understand that, then I can help people live a more peaceful life. So I've been working on this concept I call the ascension ladder. This idea of ascension is oneness with God. So Abraham Maslow is credited for the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And Maslow's hierarchy of needs, there is no hierarchy of needs. I don't think Maslow ever talked about a hierarchy of needs. It was done by some consultants that wanted to use his content in the corporate world. And at the end of his life, Maslow questioned the hierarchy of needs and said it's really not a hierarchy. I think it's continuum. I think he was talking about, in many ways, how we connect as humans through survival is our greatest purpose as an animal on this planet. And food, water, shelter, and safety to me make up survival. The next section of his continuum is all about me, love and belonging and self-esteem. How does the world show up so I can feel better? And that's all about how do I connect to myself? And then self-actualization. And when he later in life started working with self-transcendence, that's the last section of this continuum. I'm calling it a ladder. And at the bottom of the ladder is abject poverty, and on top of the ladder is self-transcendence, oneness with God. And we all live on this ladder somewhere. And our purpose in life is to figure out where we live on the ladder and to reach down to people below us on the ladder and say, how can I help you up? And to reach up to the people above us and say, what are you seeing that I don't see? I think that's why we're here. This whole capitalistic system, this thing of making money so that we can buy all the things that we need, that is a construct of Madison Avenue that was brilliant to create structure and order of a society. But it does not produce happiness, does not produce joy. Joy and happiness come from human connection. And human connection starts with connecting with oneself. So if you can't connect with self, it's impossible to connect with others. So that's where it all starts. So connection starts with meditation, mindfulness, gratitude, getting to know self separate from mind and identity and ego.
That makes perfect sense because that's how I've always lived. I always, when I got into the business world, my attitude was I want to bring people that are smarter than me into my business world because I don't know
Mhm.
everything, and it makes me a better leader also because they're showing me and I'm giving them the opportunity where it's an empowerment thing because I've always believed in win-win. This thing
Mhm.
of pain and win lose and all of that has always bothered me so much, and I know the higher I want to go, that means the deeper I have to go inside of myself to get rid of and see what is the limitations that I'm putting on me. Nobody put these
No
on me.
question. Nobody.
Yeah,
No, your parents might have taught you or society might have taught you, but it's not your true self. It's a learned behavior.
right. And once I've proved that I can be better and that I
Uh-huh.
wasn't a victim to what happened to my childhood, it's like that was an event in my life that somewhere I agreed to do so I could be where I am today. And I
Right.
bless that opportunity. I
Mhm.
understand fully more of that because the more I understand me, the more I understand why I chose the family I did, why the things happened that happened in that family was for my personal evolution.
No
and
question.
and that's taking total responsibility. And when you can
Mhm.
take 100% responsibility that you created this life, if it sucks or not, you created it. If you don't like it, change it. And it all starts from up here. It starts with going inside of you and discovering that.
Mhm.
But we are coming close to our time. So, Larry, what I would love for you to do is talk a little bit more about your book and where people can get
Sure.
it, and any final thoughts.
Well, the Joy Molecule is available on Amazon. It's available in paperback, in Kindle, and in Audible. So I recorded that over the holidays this past year. My website is 5-dots.com. You can find me there. Email, happy to put it out there, Larry at larrykesslin.com. It's in my book. I'm an open book. I'm happy to talk to anybody, love people to reach out to me having read the book or are interested in learning more about the work that I do. I'm looking to get back on stage. I haven't been on a main stage in over a decade. Not sure I had much to say. When I wrote Success Redefined, I wrote it because I wanted to work with people that were successful like I was, but I wanted to help them find a new definition for success, but I hadn't found my own. So it's impossible to help others do something that I haven't done myself. And for the first time in my life, I feel like I've redefined success in a meaningful way. I mean, I did it in words in 2015. So my original definition of success, the ability to do what I want whenever I want to do it, got updated to the ability to do what I want whenever I want to do it while being part of something greater than myself. That was nice in words. I needed to live it. I needed to be it. And the last decade has allowed me to do that. And that's where the joy molecule came from. So love talking to people, open to getting feedback and connecting with anybody at any time. So thank you for the platform. Thank you for the opportunity. And I greatly enjoy these opportunities to share my life's journey and my life's experience.
Well, I'm really grateful that you came on and we got connected, because it was he had the old
We have
link.
the same publisher. She's a wonderful lady.
I
She's
know
one of the
she is.
stories in the Joy Molecule. She's the story about never quit. The fourth lesson in the book is Judith Briles, and she's a woman who never quits. She just, no matter what's going on, she just keeps plowing forward. And it's amazing what she's been able to accomplish in her life. So
It is,
she's a
especially
force
with
to be reckoned with.
she is a force to be reckoned with. And I did a book signing with her a couple of weeks, well, about a week ago. Yeah, a week ago. And it was so funny because she has to get a hip replacement, so she was tired and she came up to Loveland, and that's a real drive from where she lives. And she was just, she was Judith. And, and she's stubborn. It's like, Judith, you can't move. So, well, let's put your chair here so you can greet the people instead of sitting behind the table. Well, she decided she was going to sit behind the table. And this was so funny because it's like, she eventually decided she had to get in front of the table because it wasn't working. And I said, Judith, one of these days you're going to actually listen to other people, because, see, we know you so well. And I get it, I mean, but that's Judith. It's like we all pick on
Yeah,
Judith, but it's done out of love, because all she wants is the best for
no
us.
question.
And she brings amazing people together. So every time I go to one of her events, I'm always meeting someone new. And then I had the pleasure of meeting you and loving your story. And
Thank you.
Larry is the real deal, people. I'm telling you, he's the real deal. If you could
Mm,
feel his energy, he's the real
mm,
deal. Because what I do
mm,
is through feeling and heart. And he talked, and he's very eloquent speaker. He's very knowledgeable, but it was how he spoke. It was through his heart. And that's what
mm,
I want to say about you, Larry, is you move my heart. That's why
mm.
I wanted you on my show, was
Well, thank you
because
very
there's
much.
that beautiful part about it. And you had such a beautiful way of explaining this in a very different format than what I deliver.
Mm,
And I think everybody needs to hear it, because we all hear and learn things differently. So I am so blessed that you're here. And I really appreciate that you came on and we're going to stay in touch one way or another because I know Judith will make sure of that.
Well, I appreciate how you're helping people on your journey and all the work that you do to help people find more light in the world. I mean, we are here to be light for others, and this is not about us. And I was so about me for so long. It was so much about what I needed. And what the more I allow the world to just unfold and be okay with what's unfolding, the easier it gets.
Couldn't have been
Easier said than done. We still have a mind. It still wants control. It still wants to believe that it is the boss. But the more you realize that you have agency and the more you can tell it to shut the F up, it gets easier.
yeah. And I agree with that. I totally agree with that. It really is working with your mind and developing those skills because it is a skill to change who you are. And we're all capable of it. It's just if you choose to do it or not.
Yep.
So I want to thank everyone for coming and joining us today. I really do appreciate your time. Feel free to like and subscribe the channel. I do have a community, Come Back to Yourself, on school.com. So check that out. I will have all of Larry's contact information inside the in the show notes. So you'll be able to get a hold of him if you want to talk to him further. And I would highly take him up on that. If he's offering any kind of anything, I would just talk to him just because he's just a world of knowledge. And
Thank you.
you're welcome. And I would just want to thank again everybody for being here today. I really do appreciate your time because I know how valuable it is. And I will see all of you next Tuesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And from my heart to yours, I hope you have a fabulous week.